This is an update on the top bullet strike into the fuel tank. First, we'll cover another claim that the shot was impossible. We'll then go over a few points related to the claim of a ground-based shooter. Finally, as new data comes in, we'll show an updated bullet trajectory, since we wanted to keep the reconstruction as accurate as possible. It looks like some people still won't give the topmost fuel tank shot a rest. There's a new claim, which says that that shot was impossible because of the angle, but this time in the horizontal plane. The claim is based on the premise that the bullet hole is at the 9 o'clock position on the tank, that is, its westernmost point.
Where it is on this tank. It is not here, it's here. It's on this side right here. Almost a perfect perpendicular location to this tank. The fence gives you the perfect location of where these are. Here is the fence, and the two shots are here, not here. These two bullet holes were found pretty much one on top of the other, here, not here.
Actually, the claim even seems to imply that the bullet hit is to the north of the 9 o'clock point.
In order for it to hit even, a few degrees off of 90 straight onto it, you would have to have these holes here, but they are not. They are on this face. Here is the fence, there is the face.
Based on this premise, the claim says that if the bullet had come from Mandalay Bay, the bullet hole would be more elliptical, not round, and the residue would be more directional.
That is round. This is not the tank. This is a different hole. But look at the shape of the hole. If it goes in at an angle, it's going to show you that angle. It is traveling at an angle of attack, not a 90-degree shot.
The premise of this claim is false. The bullet hit is quite a bit to the south of the 9 o'clock point. We'll start with the least accurate method of showing this, then move up all the way to the most accurate one. Here's the photo the claim is based on. First, you should not make any judgment based on how you think the fence is oriented, because the lens makes the fence curve. Here's the direction of the fence at the left edge of the screen. Now at the right edge. They don't match, because you're looking at a curve, not a straight line. But the picture does give us a hint where the 9 o'clock point is on the tank. The fence runs north-south. Each fence post has a V-shaped top. The V-shape is in a plane perpendicular to the fence, that is, the V is aligned east-west. This means that anytime we see the V-shape edgewise, that is, the two V-bars overlap perfectly, we're aligned east-west. In the photo referenced by the claim, we can see these two V-shaped tops from two different sides. This means that the east-west plane is in between. This V-shaped top looks like it's seen edge-on, but in a close-up, we can see that the two bars don't quite overlap. This tells us that the east-west plane, and thus the 9 o'clock point on the tank, is someplace here, and thus the bullet hit on the tank is clearly to the south. A user called Rekeely pointed to this FBI cleanup video, in the context of the top fuel tank shot. This video was shot from the southern wing of Mandalay Bay. Note how the bullet marks are centered horizontally on the tank surface. This tells us that the hotel was likely the point of origin. Moreover, this video allows us to estimate the horizontal angle at which the bullets struck. Here's how. Near the tank, there are lines that run east to west, such as this container, and north-south, such as the fence. They let us establish an orthogonal coordinate system within the photo's perspective. It can be used to draw this quadrant on top of the tank. Bisecting the quadrant tells us where 45 degrees south of the 9 o'clock point would be. Bisecting it again shows us where 22.5 degrees would be. This tells us that the bullet struck at a horizontal angle of about 20 degrees south of the 9 o'clock point. The most accurate measurement can be taken from Jason Goodman's video, in which he's marching north, alongside the tank fence. In this clip, we can find the frame in which the top bullet hit is exactly halfway between the edges of the tank. What's special about this frame, is that we, the observer, the bullet hit, and the axis of the tank, are all in a single plane. This lets us mark the spot on the fence that's also on this plane. Using the divisions of the fence as a yardstick, we can find this spot on the fence in a top view, and thus locate the bullet hit exactly. It is 21 degrees south of the 9 o'clock point. Here's a more detailed description. The shortest path from Suite 32-134 meets the tank at 17 degrees south of the 9 o'clock point. If a bullet came down that path, it would hit the tank at 90 degrees with respect to the local tank surface. The actual topmost strike hit the tank at 21 degrees south of the 9 o'clock point. The bullet hit at an 86-degree angle with respect to the local tank surface. The bullet hit 2 feet 10 inches to the right of the point on the tank closest to Suite 32-134. The video in question tells us how to interpret bullet strike clues, but then fails to see the clues when they contradict the ground shooter claim. First, the video compares the amount of residue, to the left and to the right of the bullet hole, and concludes that the bullet struck roughly at a right angle in the horizontal plane. Yet, strangely, the video then instantly downplays the big difference between the residue above and below the bullet strike.
Look at the residue. It's almost even all the way around. This one tells you a little bit more travel to the bottom, so it's a little bit higher from the location.
No, the residue is not a little bigger below, it's much bigger. This suggests a strike from above. Other mentioned clues are the bulge and the depression on opposite sides of the bullet hole, reflecting how the bullet pierced the metal.
You see how it pushes up because the bullet travels under? This is round because the bullet came in from this location, and as it went through, it pushed it up. This was down, this is up.
The same pattern is present in the fuel tank strike, with the bottom edge of the bullet hole sticking out, which suggests a strike from above. Again, this is ignored. The claim of a ground-based shooter has other problems. The only rationale for Paddock to have an accomplice on the ground shooting at the tanks would be if the accomplice could do a better job than Paddock, that is, if the accomplice was closer to the tanks and more accurate. So why would an accomplice, who's closer and more accurate, aim for the topmost spot on the tank, if the bullet would promptly come out through the roof, spending almost no time within the tank? By the way, the notion that the strike under the lip was deliberate is refuted by the fact that one of the two strikes didn't penetrate the tank. Most likely it was the top one, because the rim iron around to top edge makes that spot much thicker. Why would anyone deliberately aim at a thick area of the tank, if a thinner area is only a few inches down? Here's how the bullets hitting the fuel tanks may have looked like.
308, armor-piercing API.
There were people running towards the airport around the time the fuel tanks were struck. Given the visibility of API hits, especially at night, seems like we should have plenty of eyewitness accounts of the fuel tank strikes. Strangely, it doesn't seem like we have any. In one of the comment sections, a poster has identified the API rounds and crime scene photos as Winchester .308 Silvertip. By the way, please identify yourself for credit. This allows us to use a more accurate drop chart for the fuel tank shots. We also have more accurate terrain data. This map from the U.S. Geological Survey shows the ground elevation under the building itself, which is higher than the adjacent street. A photo of the fuel tank under construction in 2011 shows that it sits in a containment ditch. A current telephoto of the fuel tanks lets us estimate the depth of the ditch. These new data raise the height difference between Suite 32-134 and the tanks, and thus increase the vertical angle a bit. Here's a diagram with all dimensions. Here's the most up-to-date recreation of the bullet passing by the lip of the fuel tank. The base angle was 8.5 degrees without the bullet drop, and 9 degrees with the .308 Winchester Silvertip drop. At its closest, the bullet missed the lip by 0.6 inches. This is the moment the bullet was passing under the lip, in 3D.
Mandalay Bay says they've decided to renumber their floors. According to MGM Resorts, floors 31 through 34 will change. They will now be floors 56 to 59. The change comes after a gunman opened fire on the 32nd floor of the hotel. 58 people were killed and hundreds more were injured.